Hello, and welcome to the HP Podcast, episode number 275. I don't think that's right. Boys. I think it's episode number 276. We're going to find out here we're going to find out live in progress. But with me here today are the most beautiful boys. Brandon, let's start with you. Got the old backwards hat, the snapback.
The ball cap.
The ball cap. And which one is that? What you got there?
It's my Vans one. It's actually the one that I got on Warped Tour one of the last years they were doing it. So
okay.
Very, very old hat.
Yes.
I'm surprised it's holding together. But I'm all right today, boys. It's
kind of like me. Kind of old. Not really sure how it's holding together.
Yeah. My sadness is immeasurable. But I'd wondered how either one of you was doing.
Well, Dave, let's start with you. How are you doing?
Man, I'm a little bummed. Like most people in my neck of the woods, my beloved Toronto Maple Leafs were gracefully ousted from the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah.
Which is tragic, but all too familiar. It's an exciting time. I love hockey, but playoff hockey is on another level. And for anyone who maybe isn't as familiar with the NHL, the Toronto Maple Leafs are kind of like the Dallas Cowboys of the NHL. They're a very valuable franchise. They're very revered, but they are constantly disappointing their millions and millions of fans. And that happened again this week, once again at the hands of the Boston Bruins. So yeah, sucks that playoff hockey is gone. And normally I just turn to my beloved Toronto Blue Jays, but they're also playing like ass. So I have nothing in life.
I imagine there's a real sense of mourning in Toronto right now between,
for many reasons,
hockey and between Drake getting absolutely annihilated.
So
it's going to be a rough time.
What happened this morning? There was a shooting in front of his house. One of his security guards was killed or injured really bad.
Yeah.
Fatally injured. Yeah, fatally injured.
Yep. I was going to make jokes, but now I feel like I can't.
No, it's
thanks to that. Drake did get demolished, and his rebuttal was weak. That's all. That's all I really had to say. I had a whole thing, and I don't even remember what it is now.
Yeah, I'm
Thanks
just
for bringing
looking
this down.
forward to the day, whether that be this week or next year, when the main topic of conversation in our Discord is not Drake and Kendrick Lamar.
I can understand that. I don't agree with it, but I understand it.
It's over.
Can we make a channel, a side channel, where just the mouth breathers go to talk about this stuff? You know what it sounds like?
Dude.
It's like people arguing over which wrestler would be the other wrestler in an actual fight. That's what it sounds like with you idiots talking about. Ben is inevitably going to talk about the Discord and how you should join us on Patreon and stuff. Don't go to the Discord. It's awful right now. So
it's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a little bit reductionistic.
He's a fucking Drake apologist now. Rad got to him.
If you weren't in Toronto, you wouldn't feel that way. You just, at the beginning, you were like, I don't understand who Kenneth Lander is. And now you're like, these guys are idiots. A bunch of mouth breathers need to get segregated in your own channel in the Discord, man. And we won't stand for that, Dave. So I don't know what we're going to do about this, but we'll think about some disciplinary action later, I guess. Well, he did mention the Discord, and while we're on that topic, you can join the Discord at handsomephantom.com/Discord. There has been, in the last 7 to 10 days, a lot of rap battle discussion. But it's died down a little bit, especially since Drake lost. So,
horribly.
Yeah.
And to be fair, let me just say something, Dave. We're witnessing some unprecedented shit going on in the culture right now. I'm not saying there's never been rap beef like this before, but the levels that we were seeing this on, this is a cultural phenomenon that's going to be talked about for a long time. So it's not just some something that came and went, or some little small town type of shit. This was pretty groundbreaking in many ways, especially between two giants. So
yeah. And especially finding out a lot of stuff about one of them, I'm just saying. Just putting it out there. It's true.
He's too
I don't
rich.
know if it's true.
He's too rich to be that. He's too rich.
That's right.
Is it? Hold on. Is it a genuine beef, or is this an act put on by producers to get clicks.
I think with these two with Kendrick specifically, and I could be wrong, you can misjudge people, especially when you don't know them. I don't really think Kendrick is the type to participate in this unless he felt genuine about it. And I actually think that about Drake too, although I think Drake is big enough that he would be more susceptible. He's way bigger than Kendrick, no doubt. As far as, album sales, single sales, money in his pocket, there's no doubt about that. But I think Kendrick, not to say Drake isn't, I don't think he is, but not to say he isn't, but I think Kendrick has more integrity than just to get into a money grubbing scheme, frankly. So I would say there's some genuine beef there for sure.
It's been brewing for many years.
Yeah.
Many years.
I think some of the battles we saw in the late 90s and early 2000s were very manufactured. There are others that were way less manufactured and people died over them. But, that's a whole separate story.
Fair enough.
Ed says, for you, Ed, or for you, Dave, Dave's punishment should be being one of the last people logged into online-only Redfall when they turn off the servers. Well, as it turns out, if Dave were to join the Redfall servers right now, he would still be one of the last people, regardless of when they turn off the servers. So, take that for what you will. You can also take for what you will supporting us on Patreon. You could do that over at patreon.com/handsomephantom. You could do so for as little as $1 a month, as a matter of fact. You can support us. We appreciate it. You can get ad-free early access to the show if you are an audio listener. Don't forget, if you want to check us out on video, you can do that on YouTube at either Handsome Phantom or Ben is Handsome. You can catch us live every Tuesday night at 7. There's so many things to say now, so I'm going to stop saying them. Guys, do we have anything else to talk about before we get into the beefy news here?
We have t-shirts. Rep the brand.
We do have t-shirts. We don't push them very much because I forget about them because I think we make a penny on each.
That's okay.
Is literally what
That's
we make.
not the point. Yeah,
well, that's not the point, but I just forget about them because I'm not seeing you made a sale. But if you go over to
handsomephantom.com, scroll down to the bottom, rep the brand.
There you go. handsomephantom.com, scroll down to the bottom, click on the link. It's through Amazon merch, so we don't actually ever touch or see the shirts, but you can get one. I think they're like $25. Whatever Amazon merch's cut was, I made it as they basically get all the proceeds for it. I think we literally get 2 to 3 cents, something like that. So we just want people to be able to wear the shirts, if you have a desire to do so. Brandon, what's your shirt? I only see side on the top of it.
Side stories.
Side stories.
Yeah. Do you know the last podcast on the left?
I do.
This
I'm
is
familiar.
their topical news driven show. I got this when I saw them live in DC.
Yeah. They when I'm booking shows for my work, I oftentimes look up their tour schedule to find new venues in the areas we're going. Now it doesn't always work out, and they're much bigger as far as being able to book national tours and fill out bigger seating, but I still use them as them and a couple other podcasts as a guide on where would be a good spot for a podcast to do a live show. So
yeah, no, dude, they're great. I've listened to hundreds of hours of those guys talk. Less so in the past year or two. But
they inspired you to read a book too, didn't they?
They did.
That's crazy.
And even my loved ones can't do that. So
yeah, exactly.
Or any of the teachers I've ever had in any class in any formal setting ever.
Yeah. So that's saying something. That's significant for sure. Guys, let's get into the news. This first one's a doozy. Microsoft's recent decision to close several Bethesda studios, including Arcane, Austin, and Tango Gameworks, has sent shockwaves through the gaming industry. Alongside these closures, Alpha Dog Games, responsible for Mighty Doom, will also cease operations. Additionally, Roundhouse Studios will be integrated into ZeniMax Online Studios. These layoffs come amid a broader restructuring effort by Microsoft, with the company citing a, quote, reprioritization of titles and resources, end quote, as the driving force behind the cuts. Notably, development on Redfall, Dave's favorite vampire co-op game, has been abruptly halted. Despite these closures, key studios like Arcane Lion, Bethesda Game Studios, Machine Games, and id Software remain unaffected. The decision to shutter these studios has elicited criticism from industry figures, including Dinga Bakaba, chief chief of Arcane Lion. I don't know what his actual title is. I think I met the right like CEO, but I just wrote chief, who described the layoffs as quote absolutely terrible end quote in a series of tweets. He urged executives to prioritize the well-being of their teams, emphasizing the importance of supporting developers during challenging times. This move comes along amidst a broader trend of layoffs in the gaming industry, with estimates suggesting significant job losses across the sector in recent years and in the future. Excuse me. Sorry. This is like a huge deal. And I woke up. Did I wake up to this news? I saw it the first time I went on Twitter. It was the first thing there. And man, there's a lot to unpack here. But Dave, why don't we just get it started off? Kick us off. First of all, I want to just make this blanket statement for all of us so we don't have to keep making it. No matter what we say in the following moments, we're all very sorry to see people lose their jobs. People are valuable. Their jobs are valuable. Okay, now I feel like we don't have to reiterate it, whether we speak positively or negatively about this moving forward. So, Dave, give me your thoughts on these shutdowns.
Yeah, a lot of thoughts kind of going through my head today. First of all, I think the first thing that came to mind is shit. This is Hi-Fi Rush, and Hi-Fi Rush was my favorite game last year. I really liked it. I played it for more than 2 hours.
You're one of the few, actually.
And it sucks that I can't say definitively that we're not going to get more Hi-Fi Rush, because they clearly stated that parts of these studios would be divested. So I mean, I feel like Hi-Fi Rush was off to a good start. So I'm not going to kind of close the door completely on that, but I think what I'm feeling about this news is, again, to reiterate what you said, Ben, people losing their jobs is bad. Redfall was an abject failure, and I can't help but feel that there's a major lack of accountability when it comes to things failing in the video game industry. And you even kind of mentioned it in the quote there from Bakaba, saying, emphasizing the importance of supporting developers during challenging times. That sounds great, but we are dealing with a business, and profits come before people 110% of the time. No matter what the HR departments say of Walmart or any big organization in the Western world, it's always profits before people. And when you have a game like Redfall that was in development and invested in for at least 6 years, and it bombs as bad as it did, I don't necessarily want to say everybody should lose their job, but there just has to be some sort of, like, these businesses aren't designed as charities. Again, I'm very sorry that people lost their job, but this idea that Microsoft should support these people who launched Redfall in the state it was is just, it's, I know I'm probably sounding insensitive, and there's a chance that Microsoft sabotaged this to some extent by either expediting the development process life cycle, or trying to push a games as a service model or something like that. But whether those things happen, like, we don't know. But in any case, I'm constantly seeing this. Well, we need to support developers, we need to support the people that are making these games, but in every other facet of society, if you don't deliver, you don't have a job. So I don't know. I'm just kind of, I'm very sad for Arcane Austin. We still have Arcane Leon, which produced, the vast majority of the stuff that we love Arcane for. Prey did come from Arcane Austin, but that was before they were under the Microsoft umbrella, and that was also technically a sales failure. So I mean, there's that as well. But yeah, I don't wish anybody to lose their job, but I'm just surprised. I'm not, like, I'm seeing people go after Phil Spencer and stuff, and I think that is a different conversation about the state of Microsoft under Phil Spencer. But there just seems to be a lot of, Microsoft should support these developers despite what Redfall was, and I don't know. As far as Hi-Fi Rush goes, and again, I'm very sad to see Hi-Fi Rush go, but I'm also surprised to see that Hi-Fi Rush was front of mind when it came to Tango. And I think it's natural because that was the last game that Tango put out. But I seem to get the feeling that Microsoft had zero expectations for Hi-Fi Rush in the first place. If we think about the way that this game was revealed, it was revealed in a Microsoft Direct showcase. It was shadow dropped the same day, which kind of tells me that Microsoft didn't want to do any marketing when it came to this game. It's let's just launch it and see how it does. And even like I remember the reveal feature that they did, and the kind of second in command guy to Shinji Mikami, his name was Joe Johannes. It even sounded like he made it sound like he was being allowed to make this game off the side of his desk.
Yeah.
So I don't think whether even if Hi-Fi Rush was the most successful game of 2023, I don't think it would have saved Tango Gameworks. I think this maybe had more to do with Ghostwire Tokyo potentially, or a larger conversation about just what the state of the global economy is right now. And Microsoft is Microsoft, but the pie is only so big, and things are going to get kind of cut out, and Microsoft is only going to have enough money to fund certain projects. So, I mean, again, this all sucks, but if you kind of look at it from an objective perspective and a purely business number, revenue and profit perspective, then it kind of makes some sense. So I don't know. Sorry for sounding like a dickhead. And again, I don't wish anyone to lose their job, but I don't know. It's just, I kind of scratch my head when I see a lot of this stuff. So yeah.
You're sounding more and more like me, Dave. Brandon.
No, I mean, Dave brought up a lot of good points. I think that one of the most glaring things about this entire thing is Redfall. It's kind of putting a big, ugly stain on the whole thing. But I agree with him. I mean, there should be ramifications for putting out something in such a poor quality. And we speculated on it before, but I do wonder how much Bethesda knew this game was in a bad state, regardless of whether they wanted it to be live service, regardless of whether, I can't imagine that nobody knew. There couldn't have been any meetings leading up to the launch of Redfall that made people think. I mean, maybe they were, smoke and mirroring the entire thing. But with the way the game launched, you got to think that somebody knew something bad was happening. And the writing was kind of on the wall with this. As far as Prey goes, I mean, Dave said it correct as well. I mean, maybe it was a financial burden on the company, but like for the most part, it's talked about pretty highly. And even though Redfall was kind of a stain on the reputation, it's like there clearly was some passion there. I mean, maybe not in the right spots. Maybe the support wasn't there at the time. But I hate that, they're coming out after the fact and saying we need to put more support to these studios. It's like, well, it's kind of too late. And I guess, trimming the fat's going to happen regardless. As far as Tango goes, this one's a little bit more surprising for me as well, even though I wasn't like a Hi-Fi Rush fan. I thought that Ghostwire Tokyo was a fine game, even though I didn't resonate with it. A lot of people I know did, including you, Ben. I thought it had really, really solid, awesome ideas. The aesthetic was perfect, and I was actually looking forward to seeing what they were going to do moving forward. Even series like The Evil Within, once again, something that I don't have experience with, but I know a lot of people talk pretty favorably about. So I don't know. The other two, Alpha Dogs and Roundhouse, I'm just like, it is what it is. They're going to be absorbed. But I wonder why the play was to not just like have these studios be absorbed. It was have them be closed. Why some got the pass and some didn't. I don't know if you guys have any insight to that, but that's kind of weird to me. It's just like, is it that bad? Are we like that behind? And I guess this is a bigger conversation about like how Bethesda's doing, how Microsoft is doing in general. It's like, we don't want to absorb these into other studios and downsize. We're just completely cutting the fat. And I guess that's kind of a product of how everything is going right now. And, even last week we talked about Microsoft sales and how the acquisition was a large chunk of their profits. It's like, how long can you sustain that? And I guess they had to make the hard decision of, instead of letting people go, it's like, hey, we have to close entire studios, which sucks. Don't get me wrong, but like, I don't know. Tango is definitely the biggest blow, I think, as far as I'm concerned. I feel like that hurts the most. Arcane's just been dealt a shit hand. Am I wrong in thinking that everyone that's owned them has kind of like it's been bad the entire way every single time they get with somebody?
I don't know. I really don't know, because just because you make good games, excluding Redfall, as far as Arcane Austin goes, doesn't mean you're making your company any money.
Right.
So is it a shit
True.
hand? No, it's the hand you dealt yourself, I think.
Right.
I mean, I've not played Prey, but by all accounts, it's phenomenal. But did it sell any copies? Like, if I make the best album of all time and no one listens to it, does it matter?
Yeah.
So,
No, you're right.
I don't know.
You're right.
I have a lot of thoughts here, and I don't really know where to start. So,
Yeah.
one, I think we've had some new people come in since I said it. We don't want anybody to lose their jobs. It sucks. Okay, get that out of the way again for the fifth time. But when it comes to corporations, it's dollars and cents, like Dave said. It doesn't matter how nice studios make you feel. If they don't make money, ditch them. I'm not saying I want them to be ditched by any means.
That's the way it goes. That's just the way.
That's how giant corporations work, especially ones like Microsoft that are traded globally. The second thing is when you have studios who are making a little bit of money. Let's just say, for example, that Tango was making money, and I don't really know if they were, but let's just say they were making money. In the restaurant industry, in retail industry, you have things called loss leaders. You get somebody to come in with an appetizer, you're basically giving them for free so that they'll then turn around and spend $75 on their dinner for two people. You get them in the door with that free appetizer. You don't do that in video games. It doesn't really work like that. It's not the same kind of industry. So was Hi-Fi Rush, not to just pick on Hi-Fi Rush, because this isn't a victory lap for me, but that's me saying that nobody actually played Hi-Fi Rush a year ago when I said that, or 6 months ago, and people were like, you're an idiot. If everybody played Hi-Fi Rush, they probably wouldn't have got shut down. But that's another story for a different day. When you have games like that, if they're making tons of money, if their studios are making tons of money, they're not going to get shut down. I don't care how much money they want to divest into Call of Duty or put another money into other franchises that they own. If you're making money substantially, they're not gonna shut you down. Now, when you have a publicly traded company, you're legally bound to do the thing that is best for the shareholders. That sucks as far as we think about it in our society, but that is the way that business works. So if it was in the best interest for Tango to either not lose any more money, so we got to shut them down, or that we could be spending this little bit of money they're making and invest that entire investment into Call of Duty, which is going to make us more money, then that's what you are legally obligated to do. It doesn't mean it feels nice. It doesn't mean that's what we want as players or students of the industry or anything, but that's just how it goes. And I really do think it sucks to lose somebody like Tango. I did like Hi-Fi Rush. I absolutely adored Ghostwire Tokyo. I got the platinum on that. I never played the Evil Within games, but in fairness, I don't even know if those sold that well. I think maybe Evil Within 1 sold 3 or 4 million copies. Evil Within 2 probably sold 1 million, but came and went. Nobody thought about it again. Great games, from everything I understand. But I do wonder if there's another aspect to it. And I think it actually was Dustin I saw say in a chat earlier today. Is it possible that this isn't a financial thing as far as Tango goes? Although I think it probably is. But, Shinji Mikami leaves. He is Tango. Can you recoup? Can you get the studio back on track if the visionary leaves and then a bunch of people follow them and or quit for unrelated reasons, or the whole team moves on? I don't know. I don't know if it's worth preserving a studio for the name alone when the name alone hasn't generated you that many sales. Yeah. So I think it goes deeper than just a dollar and cent thing too. It comes down sometimes to what's the studio makeup, what's the actual core there? Is it a Ship of Theseus situation where It's not really that studio anymore. Arcane Austin, as far as we know, after Redfall, lost most of their team. Most likely, that wouldn't have been the same studio either. And it was already very, very different from the team that made Prey before that, clearly. So, I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that go into this. It sucks to lose those studios, but they're gobbled up by Microsoft. And I'm not going to pretend like I wasn't. I was somewhere between indifferent and enthusiastic, somewhere in between there about the Activision acquisition. But many times, all three of us said, when they make this acquisition, they are going to cut things. And guess what? It's going to be the lowest producing members of society. And I don't mean that as far as those people's value. I mean those studios' output and how much they're making. So it's a long time coming. I want to address the Hi-Fi Rush thing. Whenever I tweeted out a while back that nobody, like Hi-Fi Rush, everybody was talking about it. I said nobody actually played this game. Nobody finished it. And that's not obviously entirely true. There are people who finished it, and there are plenty of people who played it. But by and large, it was being talked about more than it was being played. And a lot of people were quoting Aaron Greenberg to me. Greenberg? I don't remember. What is it?
I think it's Greenberg.
Greenberg or Greensberg? I have to know. I don't want to. I hate that. I don't want to say the wrong name. I gotta find it. There's a tweet. Here we go. Greenberg. He said, Hi-Fi Rush was a breakout hit for us and our players in all key measurements and expectations. We couldn't be happier with the team at Tango DreamWorks. Dave brought up a point earlier. Did it beat key measurements and expectations? I don't doubt that. What were the expectations and measurements? Did they think this game doesn't deserve any marketing and it's probably not going to sell that well because it's a pretty niche title? If we can get 100,000 people on Game Pass to play it, and that soaks up 10 hours of their monthly playtime through Game Pass, it'll be a success. I bet it did that. Like, that doesn't mean Aaron Greenberg, and I think, first of all, Aaron Greenberg is the head of marketing. Of course, he's using marketing speak here.
Right.
But he's also saying, like, the expectations we had for it superseded them. That doesn't mean the expectations weren't crash and burn. I'm not saying they were. I'm just saying until Xbox starts putting numbers and data and facts out, I do not necessarily think that we should take these internal metrics as some sort of success. And I'm a fan of Game Pass. I'm a fan of Xbox. I've got 3,700 hours in Sea of Thieves. I like Xbox. But that's not the point. The point is they have to actually show some kind of numbers for me to really think that these games are doing what they want them to do. Somebody in chat earlier said, where was it? Radix says, is the era of Game Pass helps fund smaller games over? And yes. And that not only applies to internal studios, that implies that's for external studios as well. So many indies and small people are basically saying, like, Game Pass wouldn't give us a deal because they said they were out of money. I mean, they don't literally say that to somebody. They're not going to say we're out of money, but they're basically saying, like, there's no funding for it. And the people who are getting offers from Game Pass are very low. Now, does that mean that if you come along with the next great thing that an Xbox wants it, that they're not going to pay, more than it's worth for it? No, sure, of course, there's going to be exceptions. But it seems like all the anecdotal evidence is pointing to Game Pass drying up. And as a fan of the industry, I don't want that. I love Game Pass. As a consumer, I love Game Pass. As someone who likes to think about numbers and business, I don't know if Game Pass is good for us for long-term viability. I want it to be. I really do. I'd love for it to stay forever because it is legitimately the best deal in gaming. But I've talked for a long time here. If you guys have anything to add or whatever, and then we'll go through some of these. I'll go through some of these comments while you guys are talking, if anything. Dave, anything come to mind?
No, I mean the Game Pass subject I kind of flagged as something to discuss in a couple of stories, which is similar to this one, so I'll get to that. I guess just in terms of like the Game Pass well starting to dry up, I don't know if this is any indication of that, but have you guys noticed that games are coming and going from PS Plus, the PS Plus library, pretty quick. I wonder if that's an indication of anything, or if it's just that Sony has structured things a little bit differently so that, games aren't on the service perpetually, but if you see something on the service, then you better go play it quick because it could be gone in a couple weeks, that kind of stuff. But
I think
all good thoughts there.
I think you're probably right, Dave, specifically with that one, they want you to sign up and they want to keep you subscribed because they got new stuff continually coming. But you got to also sign up now and not just wait because it's going to be gone soon. But I think another thing is because PlayStation has been, specifically Jim Ryan, notoriously said some things about the viability of subscription services. I think a lot of these deals that they made are for a year or something like that because they were unsure. And it's going to cost you a lot more to have a game on your service forever than it is to have it on there for a fixed amount of time and then be gone. And if they are seeing good things, they can extend that contract. So obviously, I don't know. We don't know that information, but it would make sense to me that it's twofold. One, they want people to subscribe and stay subscribed. And two, they probably aren't striking these, 5-10 year long deals to keep stuff on their service since they didn't know how it was going to work out. Maybe we'll start to see things increase in the future as far as length. Ooh. Brandon, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, no, I agree. I feel like we've seen that Xbox has been struggling in some ways, and I feel like this is just those growing pains. You said it right, Ben. It's just whenever you acquire something this large, there's going to be things that fall off. I mean, you don't get this big of an acquisition when you're already gobbling up studios prior to this and not have, and not have layoffs. It's just the way it is, not have closures. And we've pretty much said all we could say here about this. It is what it is, man.
I wanted to talk for a minute about the chatter within Microsoft. I mentioned, and I wanted to call this out specifically because Dinga Bakaba, the head dude at Arcane Lion, basically coming out and saying, like, this is shit. And Arcane is big inside Bethesda, and Bethesda is obviously a big part of Microsoft. How do you deal with one of your bigger, more revered studios with the head of it coming out and saying, I don't agree with this thing that our giant corporation is doing publicly? Like, I don't know how you deal with that.
Well, it's like,
beloved, by the way. People love, I can't speak correctly. People love him. So it's not like they can just be like, you're out because you backtalked us.
Right. It's like, well, it's not going to change anything. I mean, sure, it's shitty. Like, is it better that he says nothing?
No, the only thing I'm thinking is, like, if you did that again at any other regular job that's public facing and you went against the PR spin, if you want to call it that, of the whole thing, I don't know how long you last. That's at least got to get a call from Phil,
You would imagine.
Todd. Phil will call Todd, and then Todd will call Bakaba. But it's French.
Yeah.
They're historically socialist over there in France. They do things a little bit differently. So
right, true. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what Phil's gonna call Todd, and then Todd's gonna FaceTime Bakaba. Yeah, that's what we'll get.
Do you think?
Or maybe a diss track. Maybe we'll get a diss track.
Oh, we could get a diss track.
Dude, if only.
How do you think Todd's feeling right now?
Do you think Todd feels?
I don't know if he's concerned about much besides Bethesda Game Studios.
Bakaba called Todd and said, please explain these changes to me. And Todd says, it just works.
Yeah, this is how it goes, man. I mean, I don't know. In all reality, it's like, I would think that Todd would probably feel some sort of way about it, but at the end of the day, it's like he's been in the industry for so long. It's like, I don't know. He would know these sort of things happen. And I'm not saying that he would agree with them or think they're good, but like ultimately to the bigger face of Bethesda, it's like, this is unfortunately something that has to happen. Just like with what we said, it is what it is. And you'd like to imagine that he hopes that Bethesda has a better future with Microsoft. And if he wants a better future, he has to swallow this pill, even though it's a large fucking pill, that this is what's best for the overall for the greater good, so to speak. And
yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
got to
don't know.
imagine that the people who were in charge of Bethesda before had a large thing to say about whether or not they got gobbled up, and now do they feel responsible? I don't know. That's obviously they feel somewhat responsible, but also
Sure.
they understand it's business. But I don't know, man. I just I want to see these giant funded AAA games that blow us out of the water and we absolutely adore them. And I also want to see studios be able to maintain independence and make lots of money and turn into a lethal company situation where they're a billionaire overnight. And at the same time, I want to see giant cool marketing campaigns and see billboards in Times Square for video games. And it just, you can only serve one master. And
Can have
in
both,
this case, it's the dollar.
pretty much.
It's very much the dollar. And I think there were some other devs coming out and saying that today. It was like, we've been approached with offers before, and this is why we didn't do it. I mean, oh man.
Well, dude,
I'm just blabbering at this point.
No. But like, you're onto something, and I've said this, especially when we were talking about like studios like Larian and stuff like that. It's just this is another case how we've been seeing for quite literally years now with all these layoffs from these big companies. Is that if you can manage to stay independent, which is not something that's easy.
Yeah.
You don't get the advertising. Everything's expensive as fuck, and it's even more of a gamble. In some ways, being independent, but like this is just the risk you take being acquired, especially you hit it on the head with a publicly traded company. This is just the way it works. And if you can manage to stay independent, do that for as long as you possibly can, because you will have more of a say in everything you do, including if you want to shut down the studio or not. Regardless of what's going on, it's like independence is the way to go. And I'm talking about that like it's something that's easy, and it's literally the most difficult thing you could possibly do, especially when money's being wiggled in front of your face. But the studios that are successful and are independent are reaping those benefits. A studio like Larian can make the decisions they make because they are independent.
Yeah. I want to address something else real quick. I just had multiple people ping me in the Discord showing me.
They found out the 404. Finally, somebody figured it out.
No, it's not that.
That's not what it is.
And the people that beat.
First of all, apparently our link doesn't work. I think it literally broke last night when I had to make some changes to the site for it not to have some code freakouts it was having. But aside from that, people message me, including Dave and Benji in chat right now, saying that they finished the game. They finished Hi-Fi Rush. They showed me their achievements on their profiles that they finished it.
All right, that's 2.
That's 2 so far. I want to know. Let's see here. 7.9% of gamers unlock this. So that's 7.9% of people who beat the game. Is all.
That's that's not awful for a completion trophy.
No, but it's bastardized by Game Pass is the thing, because a lot of people, including me, started it without any incentive to finish it because I wasn't feeling it necessarily. There is a trophy that at least before it came out on PlayStation I looked at, and it was something like only 30% of people had beat the first boss. 30 people who started up the game, 30% of people, something like that. I can't find it this second. But anyway, I get it, guys. A couple of you out there finished Hi-Fi Rush. My whole point was that at the time, everyone was freaking about how great the game was. And there were people that I literally personally know who talk about how great that game is and didn't make it past the first boss.
I know who you're talking about.
You know maybe 1 or 2 of them, but you don't know all of them. I know multiple. Multiple people.
I didn't play it. Don't look at my thing. Go ahead. I didn't like the game.
I did play it. I played maybe 3.5 hours or so, but that's not the point.
I beat it, Ben.
Did you beat it, Dave? I didn't notice.
Davey, you loved it, baby.
Yeah,
I feel
me
so
in
bad
your-
for you, Dave.
Check the Discord.
Dude, Dave is like, and not even just Canada. Like Dave has been personally attacked. His Canadianism
His love for Redfall.
His love for Redfall. Wasn't that part of his punishment? Oh, no, wait. That was last year's punishment.
Skull and Bones every week.
Skull and Bone. Oh, my God, dude.
Dave,
catching
your
strays
rant against Redfall is one of the top 10 HP podcast moments.
And the funny thing is we're talking about Hades at the end of the show. And so we'll get into that. But
uh-oh. What the F? Let's talk about something more uplifting. Actually, I'm going to change the order around here. Let's just get all the nasty stuff out of the way. Recent reports shed more light on the Take-Two Interactive's ongoing layoffs, revealing the closure of two smaller studios. Roll7, the UK-based developer behind titles like Ollie Ollie and Rollerdrome, is set to shut down, along with Intercept Games, the Seattle-based studio responsible for Kerbal Space Program 2 and 1, I believe. Both studios are under Take-Two Interactive's indie-focused label Private Division. The closure of Intercept Games coincides with the announcement of the shutdown of Take-Two-owned office in Seattle, affecting around 70 employees, roughly the same size as Intercept Games staff. Additionally, other Private Division teams across multiple locations have reportedly faced layoffs. Take-Two issued a statement reiterating its cost reduction program and streamlining efforts, but did not provide further details. Dave, we'll go to you again first. Obviously, once again, we don't like to see anyone lose their jobs, but what are your thoughts on this? We're probably going to say a lot of the same things we said about the Microsoft studios, I guess.
Yeah. One of these studios just released No Rest for the Wicked, which I think it was mid-April. And that's been fairly well received. So I'm wondering how much of this is timed. And we see this sometimes, like release a game and great job, everybody, congratulations, pop the champagne, and you're all fired.
Wasn't that Moon Studios?
It is, yeah.
They're not. Sorry to interrupt you, but they're not owned by Take-Two, are they?
Did I get that wrong? Could be.
Just saving you from the comments, the live comments.
Well, someone's going to fact check that for me. But
Moon Studios put out No Rest for the Wicked. You might be thinking of something similar. But.
Incorrect. The Rollerdrome, and I'll kind of put this in a similar box as Hi-Fi Rush, which we were just talking about. But we see this metric a lot used in marketing in the past several years, where it will say like 1 million players. But we don't see sales, and this is the problem with especially a lot of these smaller games. Is if it's on a subscription service, I don't have to buy it, and I think if people have an opportunity to not buy a game, they're not going to, because as you said, Ben, you just popped in Hi-Fi Rush for a few hours and decided you didn't like it. You just saved yourself $50, and unfortunately, games like Rollerdrome and now Ollie Ollie is a victim. Are Kerbal Space Program, I think that's still going to be supported, but it's still its future is in jeopardy. Is like, if it's on a subscription service, then is it going to be sold? Are we sacrificing sales? I think for a game like Starfield, it's that's going to move the needle, but for smaller titles, like, you're losing a sale there. So I don't know. Again, this comes back to like who's to blame here. Is it kind of gamers' obsessions with games as a service, microtransactions, and subscriptions? Is it publishers just trying to cut bait on anything that isn't a smash hit overnight, or kind of just following trends? I also wonder if, like, did the Xbox Live Arcade area lead to like a massive oversaturation of these smaller games in the industry, where there's just so many of them that it's so, like, look at the Steam new release page any given day, and then look at it the next day, and it's just, there's so many new indie games that are launching, and it's like, if you can't get on one of these subscription services, then how do you get notice? And if you do on a subscription go on a subscription service, then you're cannibalizing all your sales. So yeah, I don't know. It's too bad, but again, I think there needs to be a larger discussion about what these subscription services have actually done to gaming as a whole, because it's, I don't know. Rollerdrome appeared to be a really good game, and a lot of people liked it, but did people buy it? Evidently not. So
yeah, I hated Rollerdrome personally, just throwing that out there, but I didn't wish the studio to get shut down. I just didn't like it.
Yeah,
that's just me.
Yeah, no, I played a little bit of Rollerdrome, not enough to buy it, and that's just the thing that Dave's saying, is it's like, I thought it was fun, and I was like, well, maybe if it goes on sale one day, I'll play it, but the studio just came and went. I've heard really, really good things about Ollie Ollie though. And I'm sad to see that go. But yeah, I mean another huge studio. Kerbal Space Program, I've watched some amazing videos on YouTube about it. In fact, the first one seems to be more popular than the second one by a pretty decent margin, at least as of about an hour ago on Steam. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. We kind of said it all. It's just like it sucks, but once again, we're just seeing the fallout of studios that are underperforming. And I think there is a discussion to be had about why these studios did poorly. It probably has a lot to do with sales, but when you do factor in things like subscription service, it's certainly some food for thought. And you wonder how many more sales could they have had if they wouldn't have taken the chance on being more discoverable. I guess there's just a larger problem with the saturation of games in the market, and how you kind of sift through the literal piles of trash that accumulate on these storefronts to kind of get the good games. I really wish a lot of these aggregates, PlayStation, Xbox, Steam, did better for games that were good and small. Like there was better discoverability, but it is difficult unless you're having actual people play the game to kind of sift through the junk. And I'm not saying everything has to be a smash hit, but there are games that get overlooked because they're just buried. Not to say these games suffered from that, but I think that's the bigger conversation we're kind of dealing with here.
Sorry, there's some asshole revving their engine right outside my window here, so bear with me. But Dave, we got real-time fact-checked, both of us. Private Division was a publisher. The studio is independent. But also Private Division was just the publishing label under 2K. So technically, we're both correct and incorrect, I guess. But I don't think that Moon Studios is... That was actually the studio I think I was talking about, or that was the studio I was talking about earlier when I said some developers have been like, we've gotten offers and decided not to do it because of, things like this. That was the studio I was referring to. So. Okay, enough beating that dead horse. Let's move on to number 3. This has been a bit of a whirlwind. Recent reports have shed more light. No, that's the last story I just read. In the last 5 days, the situation with Helldivers 2 on PC has escalated dramatically. Initially a success on both PS5 and Steam, the game faced severe server capacity issues due to its popularity. However, controversy arose when Sony announced that all Helldivers 2 Steam players would need to log into their PlayStation Network accounts to continue playing on PC, affecting players in over 100 countries without access to PSN. This decision led to a wave of negative reviews on Steam and prompted Sony to reverse its plans. As a result, Helldivers 2 is now playable in regions with Steam access without requiring a PSN account. While the main issue has been resolved, players accessing Steam in countries without access to PSN are still unable to purchase the game. Brandon, I want to go to you first, but I want to point out a couple things. One, insane that they got Sony to bend the knee.
Yeah,
absolutely unprecedented, in my opinion. And 2, why did they bother selling this game? Because this was a requirement from the beginning, even though they lifted it, and we'll get into all that. Why did they ever sell the game in those countries in the first place? But take it wherever you want.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of multifaceted here. There's a lot of people talking online, and like there's a lot of stink being had about this entire thing. The game was incredibly review bombed, and I will say off the top that it is kind of crazy. I'll reiterate that Sony did go back on this. I think there will be some ramifications for this play, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But there's 2 sides to this argument and why people are upset. You have one side that people are just upset that they have to create a PSN. And to that, I say, shut the fuck up. You have to create a login to get your Jersey Mike sub unless you walk into the store. So shut the fuck up. It doesn't matter. Create the goddamn free account. It takes 2 fucking seconds. Okay. That argument is ridiculous. And I feel like anyone who has that position is stupid and brain dead and does not live in the same world we all live in. The other argument is that, yes, you are correct, Ben. It's over 100 countries. I just looked it up. It's 121 countries don't have PSN. Okay. That sucks. You purchase the game. you're not able to play it anymore.
You play it for 3 months, 2 months,
That's
whatever.
what I'm saying. You love
Yeah.
the game. Everyone seems to love it. It's a great game. We've talked so highly of it. I couldn't imagine being in that position. So I understand that position and that position only to be upset. Now, why Sony said, hey, we're going to sell it to you and then we're going to go back on it, that I don't understand. I understand the outcry for that reason. But anything else is just complete bullshit. I want to touch base to what I said earlier in that Sony is now bending the knee. And what I'm going to say to that is that now every PlayStation game that's going to be released on PC going forward, this won't happen again. Do you want to know why? Because now they're going to require it from day one. They're never making this mistake again. Okay. It's not that they're going to make it so you don't have to have a PSN account for anything else. They want you to have a PSN account. They wanted that from the beginning, clearly. And if they wouldn't have had such a blowback, they wouldn't have changed it at all. This is what they want. They want you to have the PSN. So I think every PC game going forward that's a PlayStation title, you will be required from day one to have a PSN account, or you won't be able to buy the game. That's how
play
it's
online.
Go.
I think to play online. I want to just butt in there and say I think Ghost of Tsushima has already said that you won't need one if you're only going to play offline, but if you want to play, or if you only want to play single player, but if you want to play the online mode, you will have to sign in through PSN.
But I think they learned their lesson, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I would agree with you. Yeah,
that's the takeaway I'm having is that people that are bitching about the accounts, shut the fuck up. People that bought it and live in a bad country, not a bad country, that came out wrong. That came out wrong.
We understood.
That came out wrong. The bad countries, the 121. It sucks. It's awful. It shouldn't have happened.
I think Trump got in trouble for a similar comment about bad countries. I don't.
The bad countries. No, but yeah, this is just a crazy topic. I wanted to honestly was curious to see what you guys thought about it.
Well, Brandon, I wanted to just to shine a little more light on this before we go to Dave. What do you think about the fact that on like day 1, day 3, day 5, even I think up until about the 1 week mark, you did have to sign in through PSN. I remember specifically doing it myself.
I did, yeah.
And I also remember you saying on this podcast, I did something I've never done before. A game on Steam wanted me to log into my PSN account and wouldn't let me play without doing that. I don't remember what episode that was, but I'm sure if somebody wanted to crawl back through our episodes, you would mention it. So they did have that enacted at the beginning, but once, after that first week when it got crazy and all the server issues started happening, they moved that. And I think it was good that they removed that requirement. But why, at any point, if they were always planning, and at the beginning you had to, but if at any point they were planning on making you connect your PSN account, did they let it be bought in those countries without access to PSN?
Money, silly.
I mean, no, I think yes, but that'd be easy. Like that's an easy refund. You sign in, you realize you can't connect your account, you request a refund. Steam gives it to you, no questions asked, because it's under 2 hours. But I just can't understand how they made that mistake. Dave, I want to go to you, and you're welcome to take this in the direction you wanted. But one thing I want you to address: do you think Sony would have reversed their decision if Steam were not giving refunds to people well after the 2 hour mark that they usually hold for refunds?
No, I think that was probably a key piece of them bending the knee, as you so eloquently put it. But yeah, I mean, we look at Sony as this massive company that we all know and love, and they manage billions and billions of dollars, and they're probably led by some of the smartest thinkers, business people. But Sony has shown time and time again that they kind of lack foresight in situations like this. I couldn't help but when this was all going down, I couldn't help but think of games like Days Gone and Concrete Genie, which we've probably all forgotten. But these are games that have kind of been victimized by Sony's complete lack of foresight in certain circumstances. And this seems to be one of them. Ben, you mentioned that this game turned out to be a smash hit, and it was kind of came as a surprise to a lot of people. So I wonder to what extent that kind of played into this kind of having Sony flip-flop to you need a PSN account, now you don't, now you do, and you're probably still going to need one soon, even though Sony's kind of conceded at this point. But I don't know. The funny thing about this is a report came out just before this PSN stuff happened, that Sony had just started circulating a survey to some of their gamers about the greatest PlayStation experience. I guess I had a bunch of questions about how they could improve the experience, and then this all happened. So again, this is just kind of showing that I don't know, Sony has the ability to bungle the fuck out of things, and I really feel bad about Arrowhead having to deal with this, because it's just like, as great of a story as this game has been for gamers and Arrowhead and Sony, like, it just, like, can they catch a break? Because I don't know, it's wild. The other thing about the story that's really starting to concern me is how illegitimate Steam reviewers are becoming. It seems every chance people get to review bomb a game, it happens. And I almost wonder if, like, Steam needs to step in and just kind of watch the news closely. And the second they see that, some big news breaks that might cause people to want to go and sway public opinion on their own platform, that, I don't know, maybe they freeze reviews or institute some policy where you, I don't know, just restrict what you can write about a game, because it's just like, I don't trust the reviews anymore. And I know they have the thing now where, like, they have the lifetime reviews, and then they also have recent reviews. So you can kind of get a perspective of if something's being review bombed, but I don't know how transparent that actually is to the average gamer. So I don't know. That was the other thing I just kind of wanted to say is, please stop review bombing. And I know, the masses aren't going to listen to me, but it's really sad to see reviews being used in this way. So
Well,
yeah,
I have two thoughts there as well. Go ahead, Brendan.
I'll say something that's crazy about that, and I'm not saying I disagree with you, Dave, because I mostly agree with you, but the reviews on Helldivers 2 went from mostly negative. There was a push. There was a concise push. Like, this was a push by the community. If we've shown anything about the Helldivers 2 community, is they can work together, which is miraculous for gamers. But it's now back up to mostly positive. So those people went and changed their reviews. For what it's worth. That's all I'm saying. Is like it. I'm not saying it's the point of the review is to, like, make a statement, but what I'm saying is that, like.
But wasn't that necessitated because it was a review bomb in the first place? Like, on the weekend, it shot right down, and then
Right.
Have I got that right? Yeah.
I think two things. One, I think it's really cool that probably not everybody yet, and probably not eventually everybody either, but a large group of people review bombed it, made a statement. Whether you like that they did that or not is a different story, but they went in and they made a statement, and then as soon as they got what they wanted, they reversed it. I think that's pretty dang encouraging that they wanted to support it then after they bombed it. Two, I think I generally agree with you on review bombs, Dave, that I don't like them. But I think in this specific instance, it was merited and it did work. And just because it works doesn't mean it was merited and vice versa. But I think in this specific instance, it's like, well, people made their voices heard, and it worked. And it, in my opinion, was a righteous effort. I don't always think that's the case, but I don't know. I think that was good in this case.
I agree.
Do you disagree with me, Dave, in this specific case?
Okay, it worked out here.
Yeah.
Ed just pointed something out in the chat where it doesn't always work out this way, and a lot of games don't recover. So, I'm glad it worked out in this case, but generally using Steam as a platform to try and influence a company to do or not do something, that's not what a review is for. So That's all I'm saying. And we know that thousands of indies kind of rely on Steam to get, and those reviews are gold to them. And when people are, and I'm not saying people are review bombing indie games, but it's just become a trend to use them in that way, and I don't think it's right. So
it makes me wonder, we'd had a lot of talk and speculation about whether Arrowhead was going to be picked up by Sony. And after this whole thing, it's become very clear that the developers at Arrowhead are like, we didn't really want this, and Sony forced it upon us. You got to talk to them, basically. And now I'm wondering, like, are they going to want to get in bed permanently with Sony past a publishing deal? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Jose Taco says, don't you have to own the game on Steam to review it? You do. Many people, though, if they want to review bomb, will buy it, give it a negative review, and then refund it. The thing I like about Steam is that when you read a review, you can see not only how many hours someone has in the game, but also how many hours they had in the game when they reviewed it. That is a really helpful metric because sometimes I'll see a negative review and it says like 0.2 hours played. I'm like, I don't really trust that one. I see another review that's got 300 hours in the game. They give it a good or bad review, and I'm like, I tend to believe that one more. So like that is a nice feature, but there is the ability to buy a game, leave a review one way or another that influences that overall score, and then refund the game.
And
so
I wonder
it's
how
good
many
and bad.
people actually get past just the thing on the main
Yeah.
game page
Agreed.
with, overwhelmingly negative or positive in the number. So
Agreed.
Yeah.
Let's move on through this next one, and we might just bleed this over into what we've been playing. Hades 2 blowing up. Hades 2 has stormed onto Steam Early Access, surpassing its predecessor's lifetime concurrent player count in just 24 hours. Within its first day, the sequel reached a peak of 79,276 concurrent players, more than doubling the original Hades peak of 37,749. This highly anticipated sequel, set in the world of Greek mythology, reintroduces players to legendary figures like Odysseus and Nemesis. Dave, let's talk about what we've been playing. I'll talk about it first. I talked about Hades 2 technical test or whatever last week. I don't know what just happened on your end, but that's something terrifying. But you said you had some beef with this game, and I'm gonna let you talk while the train goes by.
Yeah, no. So I played Hades when it first came out, like most people, and I kind of had a hard time with this genre and its inherent repetition. I thought Hades was fine. It looked great. It sounded great. And I don't know. I just kind of burned out with this game really quickly because it's a roguelite and it's inherently repetitious. And I get that I have gushed about games like Cult of the Lamb on the show and Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, which is also inherently repetitious. And I think I've kind of wrapped my head around like where the charm from these games come from. So I guess everybody's forgotten, but I've been kind of not outspoken, but I've said in the past that I did not like Hades, and there's a lot of hype about the sequel, and it's kind of hit a fever pitch now. And I've been meaning to go back to Hades and see if I can kind of rekindle some of that charm. But Hades 2, it's everybody's playing it on Twitch. It looks fantastic. The soundtrack is phenomenal in this game, and it's the soundtrack you can already purchase, I believe, on Steam. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I wouldn't doubt that.
Yeah, and it's that might sell just as well as the game does because this game sounds amazing. And I don't know. I'm just it's great to see how far Supergiant has come since Bastion, but it's also great to see how closely they've stuck to the roots. If you played Hades and then were like, I really like this game, I want to know what else this developer has made, and then you go back to the very first title, which was Bastion. I don't know if that was the first, but one of the earliest. You would be like, okay, this like they've done so much, but they've changed so little, and I think that's really cool. So shout out to Supergiant, and maybe in a couple of weeks I'll be talking about how I now love Hades. I also played it on the Switch.
Yeah,
I don't know if that kind of hurt my experience with the game, but it seemed to run fine, but maybe it just controls better with a PlayStation controller or whatever. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Stinky Switch.
I'm loving it. I haven't gotten even to the point I got during the close or the technical test or whatever it was called. So I can't comment more after that. I bought it last night. I figured I was going to buy it eventually, so why not buy it now? And really am enjoying it, but I don't have much more to shed on it than I did last week. I will say that I'm playing it. I played it before with my Xbox controller on my PC during the technical test. And now I've exclusively played it for like the 2 hours I've played it on my Steam Deck, and it runs awesomely there. It's really good. So I think it's great. I think everybody should play it. It's $30 in early access. It'll probably be 40 or something when it actually releases. And from what I understand, there's a lot of content there already. Like I said, I haven't gotten past even where I got in the technical test at this point. So I would encourage everybody to give it a shot. If you would all like Hades, give it a shot. I also played the first one on my Switch, Dave. I actually don't even own it on Steam, and I loved it. And my son, who's 10, loves it. But I decided I not want to play it on my Switch this time around. I wanted to. Well, I guess I couldn't even play it on my Switch. Yeah, I probably will end up buying it there as well. Other games I've played this week include more Sea of Thieves and more Rebirth. I'm finally in the last chapter of Rebirth. And there's a couple things I haven't gone back to, the side mission stuff, because I was just like, I need to finish this game now. So I anticipate probably within the next week or two, I'll have that wrapped up. Although I understand that the chapter I'm in and the last chapter are pretty long from what I've been told. So we'll see. But Brandon, what have you been playing?
Dude,
We're saving the best for last. I'm sorry.
I know, it's all right. I've been playing more Counter-Strike 2. Game's very, very difficult. I think I said that last week, but it's been really fun getting into a shooter like this. I've always wanted to, between this and Valorant. I talked a little bit about last week. I feel myself getting better, which is encouraging. And I've been watching people play the game, which is also a super helpful thing to do in a game like this. There are thousands of hours of competitive play that I can watch and look at from 20 years of experience in most of these maps. So, yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I've been playing with my brother, which is a treat as always.
Nice.
But I've also been playing more Stellar Blade. Really enjoying my time with this game. I'm not rushing through it, which has been a lot of fun. I'm just kind of taking my time, doing a lot of exploration, finding as many cans as I possibly can, just being very thorough and kind of just soaking it all in. The combats continued to be enriching and really, really fun as it kind of built on itself. I said last week I was kind of interested in the story, and I still am, but as all games go with me, that's sort of fades into obscurity as I continue to play the game, and all of a sudden I'm just playing and not really worrying about anything else. But it's been a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to continuing to play this game, and yeah, usually I want to just rush through games, but I've found that this game I kind of just want to soak it in and kind of just chill. I don't know. I don't got FOMO for not having beat it yet, is what I'm saying. I feel like I'm just taking my time. It's been great.
So. I mean, it's only been out like 10 days.
I know, but I don't think it's like exceptionally long either, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like,
right. Nice. I gotta hop in the Counter-Strike with you at some point.
Dude, I'm
real bad.
I've been meaning to talk to you about that. Yeah, we definitely got to play.
Yeah.
It's a treat, man. I mean,
none of us have an excuse to play together. It's free. So
it's free.
Free 99. All right, Dave, lay on us the blessings of 2B.
Yeah, the only thing I've played this week is Nier Automata, Potato. And I just got to give a quick shout out right off the top to Edwin Castillo, one of our dearly beloved listeners. Who did you guys know he runs a Nier Automata orientation course? It's 16 easy payments of $49.99. So
yeah,
we've been chatting in the Discord. He slid into my DMs.
Ooh.
And yeah, he's just been kind of helping me out and giving me a lot of valuable insight about how to make the game easier. Not easier, but just like it's not. It can be an unapproachable game at times, and there's little things here and there that he's kind of pointed out to me. So shout out to him for that. Yeah, I've really started to hit my stride with this game. And I stopped a little bit in terms of pushing the critical path, and I've just been doing side missions, and they're fairly basic, but I think they're interesting enough, and that I'm really enjoying kind of knocking them out and seeing the side quest percentage kind of creep up. But I think the coolest thing about the side quests is just they get you to explore areas that you might otherwise breeze through. So I'm just kind of glad that I pushed the story far enough that I unlocked fast travel. There was actually a minute there where I was like, does this game really not have fast travel? I know it's a little bit older, but yeah, so I'm enjoying that. I'm really sinking my teeth into this like plug-in chip system, which for the first 5 hours I really didn't touch, but now that I understand a little bit more, I I really appreciate kind of I thought it was a little bit weird at first because it seems like, okay, I have a plugin for like a health bar, and if I lose that, then I can't see my own health, that kind of stuff. But then when I kind of looked into it a little bit more, I'm like, oh, these are actually like, there are those things, but there's also like buffs, and I can change out, these plugin ship loadouts for different, different encounters I might have. So that's another drive for doing more of the side quest initially, is just to kind of get more of those things, because I don't know, I feel like this is the kind of game where I don't want to miss too much and don't want to stick too much to the critical path. But yeah, it's fun. I didn't get the upskirt trophy, just so you guys know. You can check my profile if you want to see. But yeah, and again, like just customizing 2B, I briefly tried like a lance weapon, and Ben, I think I'm going to stick to what you suggested, where for this first playthrough, I really like the the blade that you start with. It's fast, it's cool. I think it kind of complements the way 2B moves really well. So yeah, and as far as the story goes, like it's really cool, and I'm talking to a lot of NPCs to just kind of get a little bit more into the lore. So yeah, I mean, about 10 hours in, I'm really enjoying my time, and I just wish I had a little bit more time to play it. But yeah, Nier is I'm glad I took the plunge. I think it was about 5 to 7 hours into Persona last year when I realized that this isn't for me. Now with Nier this year, I'm definitely be like, yeah, I'm glad I'm playing this game. So
Nice.
yeah, things are going well. And yeah, Ed, don't worry, I'm not gonna spend too much more time on side quests. It was really, I was using them as more as a tutorial, and I'm kind of over them now. I feel comfortable with everything, and I'm gonna push forward. So yeah.
I just want to say I platinumed that game before I ever knew Edwin Castillo existed. So you could have just asked me for help instead of paying for his course, but it's fine. Edwin just, after 83 hours in the game and 3 months after release, I had no idea what the last chapter of Rebirth was about, and he just told me. So I really appreciate that, Edwin. Thank you very much. That's all we have for this show, you piece of shit. Man. We're going to get going. But before
You've had
we
a
do,
while, Ben.
What?
When is the spoiler embargo up?
More than 3 months during a live show.
Okay.
How's that? Yeah.
Fair enough.
For a game I'm still currently playing. From someone who knows how much I hate spoilers. It's not really a spoiler, but I didn't want to know what it entailed either at the same time. Support us on Patreon. Over at patreon.com/HandsOfPhantom for as little as $1 a month. We appreciate your support there. And hang out with us on Discord. handsomephantom.com/Discord. We appreciate that very much. He says, I was trying to help. It was not. I like to play my game. That's fine. Whatever. We appreciate you guys hanging out. We're going to chat for a minute about the show title, and then I got to get going. Thanks for everybody for listening. We'll see you next time. Show name. Please, and thank you.
Oh man. Didn't somebody say something good in the Discord earlier?
Probably not, honestly.
Ben is sour right now.
He's mad. He's mad.
I just don't understand how he pulled that off. He was like, hey, this is what the last chapter is. Thanks. Appreciate it.
He's mad.
By the way, Dave, I actually like the side quest in Automata.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, he's right. Don't get bogged down in them, I guess, but I enjoyed them.
Based on the percentage, it doesn't seem like there's too many. Like, I don't feel like I've spent too much time on them.
No, I don't think so.
But I'm already pushing like 20%. But yeah.
No.
You just don't want to get a team combination of characters where none of them can heal or revive. Oh, you get other characters. Interesting.
Yeah, okay. So again, he's continuing to tell me more about the game that I don't want to hear about. And also, I just like to figure games out by myself. I don't use guides. I don't use anything. It's all right, Poot. You can go back and listen to it. It's still there. Phil didn't play Hi-Fi Rush. Is that the show title?
Just call it Nobody Played Hi-Fi Rush.
Brownie face.
I told you no one played Hi-Fi Rush. That's what it's going to be called.
Except for like a couple people in our Discord.
Can you tell us who you were referring to earlier, Ben?
Not on air.
Oh,
Can't.
No.
All right. That's it.
Goodbye,
Screw you guys.
See you
Later.
Goodbye.